excited to have Alli Worthington. Did I pronounce it well?
You did. Yes.
Worthington. Some names I have to double check with my accent, I just want to make sure that I honor your name correctly. I just want to introduce you a little bit to my
Sure.
audience. So you are known for your straight talk encouragement and practical tools that help women reach their dreams and in business and in life. And you are the author of 5 books, including The Year of Living Happy, Fierce Faith, Breaking Busy, and this latest book that we're talking about today, which is Remaining You While Raising Them, The Secret Art of Confident Motherhood. I love the title. I think that this confident motherhood will call attention to many mothers because I do not know any mom who feels 100% confident that they are doing a good job. I think that that's one of a sure trait of every good mom out there. We're always questioning whether we are doing well, as a mom to our children. And yeah, I read that you had a national survey with more than 1,000 moms. Tell us a little bit about what you found when you did this survey.
Oh, there's two things that are absolutely fascinating. The first thing I found was 96% of women said they dealt with mom guilt. 56% of women said it was almost daily. But the most interesting part of this is when I asked what was the cause of mom guilt? Is it ourselves? Is it our spouse? Is it our friends? It was actually social media. It was
Wow.
opening up our phones and seeing other people look like they had it all together. So, family pictures where everyone matches and the dog is smiling. And meanwhile, you're living your not life and your second grader or your 22-year-old is having a tantrum, whatever age as a mom, and your dog has eaten a sock and is throwing up on the carpet, and you want to throw your phone across the room because
Yeah.
we all think other people are getting it right. So that was shocking. But then another thing that was surprising when I asked women about a motherhood book they had read, no one gave me a motherhood book, but they gave me parenting books. But then they
Mm,
told me stories of how the parenting books made them feel worse, made them feel like they weren't going to be good enough, that made them feel guilty and even a little bit shamed. So I heard from a lot of women that I wanted to read this book and I got halfway through it and I couldn't do it anymore. And that's when I knew we needed a book for mom, something that isn't guilt inducing, something that gives us some tools to live as mothers in a way that we can enjoy.
I love that. And Allie, I was a mother later in life. So I was a businesswoman. I had my own business in Brazil. When I met my husband in Brazil, and he's American, and so I was a successful businesswoman, and I got married. I was 30 years old. Didn't have my first kid until I was 33 years old. Then, of course, most of my daughter's moms, my daughter's friends' moms, they were much younger than me. They were mostly stay-at-home moms, and they were the Susie homemaker, which I was never one because, again, I was like making a business thrive in Brazil.
Mhm.
And when I was when they were raising kids. And so I have always had I had struggled for many years, not anymore, praise the Lord. 20 years later, I finally, overcame this. But that comparison thing that you said about social media, it plagues a lot of us women who are not necessarily cut out to be the one that is in the kitchen making the cookies and making matching dresses, with our own hands. So I know, I know that comparison monster is a huge stealer of joy,
Oh,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
And we don't live in a world where it's reasonable for people to live on one income anymore. Most
Mhm.
people just don't have that financial luxury. So, also, when I surveyed over 1,000 women, I think it was maybe 6% who were in a season of being a stay home mom because financially that just doesn't work for families anymore. So, it's almost as if the should I, shouldn't I, and maybe I should, it's almost not a question for most families. This is just what we have to do. But also, if you look at the research, there is no research that shows kids are better off if their parents have stayed home, or they're working from home, or they're working in an office. It's really the unique makeup of the family and what works best for them. I think that there is on social media, however, a big business that is run by influencers that is making people kind of idealize staying home with children and homeschooling and, I don't know, growing your own wheat in the backyard. But the thing about big accounts like that, these influential, like, mom accounts that are making women feel terrible, is these are businesses.
Mhm.
So they're sharing, like, "Shop my closet and get 20% off
Exactly. They're
code."
making a killing.
They're killing it in business, but they're pretending like it's all fun and games, and their kids are all in neutrals, and I'm teaching them Latin, and look, I'm braiding their hair, and look, here's a 20% off code for this natural beauty product. Eh, I, as a businesswoman, I never fault another woman for having a business. However, I am going to say it's up to us as consumers of social media to notice when this is just a beautiful lifestyle business, but it's
Mhm.
not actually reflective of life for those people.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I always said that, we had in the 21 years of motherhood that I've had, we've had some seasons that I was able to stay at home with my kids, and
Mhm.
I'm very grateful. I've always worked though, I've always done something like translations for a while. I've done, and then of course ministry, I've done ministry. So I've never not worked at all from home, outside of home I have. But there are seasons, and we have, and just like a lot of people that you were talking about homeschooling, it's not for everybody. And that's all right. And then, that's the one thing is like, because it works for your family, that is wonderful. But do not look down on that mom who just is not called to
Yeah.
homeschool their child. It's just like, this is a one, you and the Lord, and you and your husband have to make that decision, and there should be no shame. But sometimes in the church there is shaming too, of people that are not, they're choosing different paths, and that's not okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
sometimes there's a little bit of pressure. I've been kind of all of it. I was a stay-home mom for 12 years, and then I built my company with the kids all surrounding me. My youngest, who's now 15, he would smack my MacBook closed on the kitchen couch and go, "No work, mommy, no work." Uh, and I homeschooled for a period of time. I'm a proud homeschool dropout. It just wasn't for us and our family.
Yeah.
The boys wanted to go to school. So I
Mm.
think there's different seasons, like you say, different families, but we do need to be careful if we are in a situation culturally where our friends are actively shaming us for our choices. That's when we really want to pray into it and go, Lord, are these the voices that I need to be listening to right now? I talk a lot in the book about how important healthy friendship is for women. Those friendships where you feel better after the interaction than before you saw them. And sometimes when we are getting shamed for our choices, there are choices that we feel like are God honoring. It's what He wants us to do in this season. That's when we really need to maybe invest in different friends. I'm not saying
That's
we
right.
we cut off friends, but we don't have to give those friends as much access to us, and we give
Mm.
more access to friends that are a little bit healthier.
I actually, in my book, I wrote about that. Craig Rochelle, he has a fun story. He talks about picking up a fish from the pond, and he says, maybe it's time you throw that fish back in the pond. So that's kind of like, sometimes we got to do that. I've had to do that. I've had to
Yeah,
distance myself with friends who are negative, who's just like, are not, a friend has to tell you the truth. They have to be one who you can count on, a true friend, to point you in the right direction when you are veering to the wrong direction. But they have to be ultimately a cheerleader for you, an encourager for you. And like you said, when you finish talking to that person, it has to be a positive balance, not negative. Otherwise, yeah, as Craig Rochelle says, throw the fish back in the pond.
exactly.
Well, you say this in the book. You say being a great mom is less about what you do than who you are. If you want to do a good job and also enjoy motherhood, it is vital that you not abandon yourself in the process of mothering your children. Tell us what you mean about that.
Well, I think the concept that motherhood is less about what you do and more about who you are is a kind of a new concept. It was for me when I first learned it, because as mothers, when kids are little, it's all about what we do. Who we
Mhm.
are doesn't really matter. We're nursing and we're feeding and we're burping and we're changing diapers. But as our kids grow, I think that we are meant to grow too. And who we are is who our kids grow up with. It's the model of what women are and what women should be. It is we set the emotional tone of the house. So motherhood isn't just about making sandwiches and making sure that the laundry's folded and staying on top of homework. It's about modeling what it looks like to be emotionally healthy. And
Mm,
with emotional health, I consider that a combination of mental health, spiritual health, and our friendships, our relational health. So we need to work on ourselves, because the natural overflow of us working on ourselves as moms will be a happier, healthier environment for our kids, which is so much bigger and more important than folding the laundry or
mhm.
making the sand. Those things are important too. But what will affect your child's life is who you are in your heart, not how you cut the sandwiches.
Yes. And Allie, on that concept that you just talked about in your book, do you give women practical insights into how to do just that, how not to lose yourself throughout different stages of motherhood? Because there's a difference, right? When you have
Yeah.
little babies and then toddlers that you cannot control, sometimes they're running everywhere, exploring the world, and then a teenagers. So do you have that kind of like insight through different stages of motherhood?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things in the young stage is identifying what makes you unique as a mom. I call it the mom superpower. So, my cousin, for instance, she's very outdoorsy. She's always kayaking, or she would take her kids on hikes. The only hike I would ever take my kids on is at the zoo or Disney World. Like I'm not outdoorsy at all. I like nature on a screen. That's how I'll take
Mhm.
it. I don't want bugs. But if I had looked at how she parented and told myself that was the only good way to parent, I would have made myself miserable.
Yeah.
So for all moms, maybe we're crafty, or maybe we're super crunchy and we are growing our own wheat in the backyard for sandwiches. Whatever it is that makes us us, it's our personality, that kind of spark that God gave us. We need to realize that God put our children with us by birth or adoption or marriage for a reason.
Mm,
God's not in heaven looking around going, I had such great plans for this child, but look at that mom. That mom never goes outside. So all that's out the window now, you know? So just recognizing this is who I am, this is my personality, and this is good enough, without thinking that other moms have it that way or a better way. It may work for their family, but for your family, you work. I think that's really important. And then as our kids grow, the last half of the book is all habits to help you thrive. And so it's investing in your relationships, marriage, friendship, taking care of ourselves. I was shocked to learn from research that the happiest relationships are women's friendships. So
mhm,
our family, our children, they give us this deep sense of joy and meaning. But our friendships make us happiest,
mm,
because we're not friends with other people because we have to be, right? Because we're related to them or work. We're friends with other people because we like them.
mm,
So that's one really easy way for women to kind of be in touch with who they are as unique individuals, and to invest in their own happiness, to just make sure we're getting together with friends. And, life gets busy. I heard it said once that the 30s are where friendships go to die, because we all get so busy in our 30s, right? We're raising kids and
very
work and
true.
everything else. So I have these two friends. They use this concept that I call bundling time. So you're bundling something you have to do with something you want to do to make it fun. They bundle making dinner. So on Tuesday nights at 5 o'clock, they put up an iPad or a computer screen in their kitchen and their AirPods, and they make dinner at their houses together. So they don't have,
Oh,
yeah, they don't have time to get together, but Tuesday nights they make dinner together. So they're bundling stuff they have to do with friend time to make them happier. It's just a small investment, but again, it helps us remember who we are outside of being mothers, and it also makes us happier.
Wow, I love this. I love that idea too. Ellie, the pandemic did a number on me like it did in a lot of people. And it was right at the time that we moved from the church that we were at for 20 years.
Mm.
After the pandemic, we had all. I'm from Brazil, so all my friends are my family here. My husband's family all lives in out of town, so my friends are my family, right? And you were talking about something that speaks really high volumes to me because it was a time where I felt so alone, even though, like you said, my husband is my joy, my daughters are my joy. They are like it's a joy, but that's all we had during the pandemic was that, and the friendships, they were not there, in
Yeah.
presence. We weren't together anymore. And I think that what you just said just opens your eyes to like why the pandemic did such a number on so many people emotionally and psychologically is because we need that, right? We need that friendship, that support of other moms that are going through the same things, and we can bounce ideas and just sometimes just vent, right? Or pray together. I love that. Well, you use a term in your book that's to describe motherhood burnout, right? You
Mm.
call it the mother load. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah, I think some people have heard of the term mental load, which is everything a woman carries in her head. Not that men and husbands and fathers don't do this as well, but I do not think they do it as much as women because, as a woman, we're thinking, when did the dog go to the vet? Oh, my mother in law needs a gift. And oh, my husband needs to go to the dentist. And a teacher gift is happening. And when did we have the carpets washed? I mean, there's all these things. Men don't really do that like we do. So when you have this mental load that I think all women carry because we are amazing and we're responsible like that, combined with being parents, I call it the mother load because it's just so much all the time to take care of. And it's something really important for our mental health to realize we have this mental load, the mother load of being a mom, and learning how to identify what our needs are and whether it's us meeting our needs or asking people for help to make sure those needs get met. Because what happens is when we don't, we end up frazzled and drained and on the edge of burnout ourselves.
Mm. And you actually talk about Wonder Woman, right? Because that kind of goes together, which I have a bone to pick with you on that because I love Wonder Woman. I'm just kidding. She was my favorite character when I was growing up. I'm a child of the 80s, so that, how it got that
Oh,
goes.
yeah. I
So
love her.
I know I love her, but you did say something. I never thought about it that way. You said she is a great character, but not a role model for women. Tell us more.
Well, here's the thing. Wonder Woman would be a terrible mother, and I'll tell you why. She would wake up amazing. She had super strength. She's got those golden cuffs. I mean, she's never going to make a mistake. So if she raised us, imagine Wonder Woman was our mother. We're sisters. We have no tolerance for people to make mistakes. We don't understand that people have bad moods. We don't understand that people fail. We don't understand that people are grumpy. We have no ability to deal in the real world. We go out in the real world and we expect everyone to be perfect. We would be completely messed up going out in the world. What's great for kids is seeing their moms struggle, seeing us succeed, seeing us fail, seeing us get up and brush ourselves off and go back for more. Seeing a mom make a mistake and then go to her kids and go, I'm so sorry I yelled at you. I was grumpy because I'm stressed out about X, Y, and Z. Please forgive me. This is how I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to make sure I don't do it in the future. That's powerful because we're modeling for our kids how to be healthy humans. And we need that. So if Wonder Woman raised us, we'd be in terrible
It
shape.
would be. I have to agree with you. I loved her, but I was a kid, and she wasn't my mom. But you were right, absolutely. Well, and when you talk about this, we can think about healthy parents or healthy moms and unhealthy moms, as far as emotionally, psychologically speaking. And you say this emotionally healthy parents have the best chance of raising emotionally healthy children. So, what does a healthy, emotionally healthy mother look like?
I think it comes down to a woman who is constantly investing in herself, in her spiritual life, in her mental health, and in her relationships. I can tell you what it doesn't look like. I remember when I was 8 going to an extended family's Christmas celebration, my Aunt Shirley. And when I got there, Aunt Shirley was smiling and she welcomed us in, but I knew something was wrong. Like everything should have been right, but I knew something felt off and I ended up not having a good time. And I didn't learn until later that she never wanted to host those gatherings. Like she told us when we got to the door, I've been cooking for 3 days. She never wanted to. But as a woman and as a mom and a family member, she never felt like she had permission to raise her hand and say, "Hey, can someone else bring a dish?" Or, "How about we switch off houses?" Or, "How about you guys come over and cook here?" She thought the only way to be a loving woman was to sacrifice in that way. And it is so sad to think of women in the past generations who didn't feel like they had permission to go, "Hey, here's what I need." Because I think if she had, everyone would have been, "Great, we'll bring a dish." Because what she did to be loving, over time, because she didn't take care of herself, she ended up growing resentful and then a little bit bitter.
Mm.
And even though she smiled and she said all the right things, we felt it. So for an emotionally healthy woman, we're checking in with ourselves. We're seeing how we're doing. We're raising our hand and going, "Hey, I need help here. This is too much for me. I need to get away from the kids this afternoon," or "I need to go have coffee with a friend," and just getting in touch with what we need so we can invite other people to take a part too. That keeps us healthy because we weren't made to do it alone.
Oh, that's so, so important. And I think we can all think of an aunt. I don't remember the name you said, but we can all think of somebody in our lives, a woman probably from the generation before
Mhm.
us, who has, like you said, become a bitter person in their older age because they just denied themselves all their lives, in the name of love or in the name for the sake of the children of the family. But it's a very unhealthy way because God wants us to take care of ourselves. That He said, love your neighbors as you love yourself. You got to love yourself first, take care of
Yeah.
yourself. And I love that. And the last third part of your book is very practical to help women on the habits that can help them to just thrive in their role as a mother. What is your magic question habit?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me this one. It ties in perfectly with what we've been talking about. It is simply to ask ourselves, to get in the habit of asking ourselves every day, what do I need right now? Because the question, what do I need, is overwhelming. We all go, I have no idea what I need. I haven't thought about that in years.
Mm.
But what do I need right now is great because we want to honor our needs. Just like as women, we're always taking care of kids, we're always taking care of other people. We have to take care of ourselves too. And maybe it means we need a cup of coffee or a glass of water or take a nap or have lunch with a friend this weekend, or get dinner. Because if the thought of cooking dinner tonight makes us want to flip our lid, right?
Mhm.
Whatever it is, we honor that and we start taking care of our needs, or we raise a hand to other people and go, "Hey, I need help with this." And we again invite people in to being part of it because I think most people, other than say 10 to 13-year-old children, most people do want to help when we need help. So, beginning to get in the habit of identifying what we need, taking care of ourselves, and inviting other people to help us, that is life changing.
Absolutely. Do not be ashamed, right?
Hmm.
Don't be afraid or ashamed. It would be a good idea to just print that question and put it somewhere so you don't ask, what do I need today? What do I need today? I like that. Because we do forget to think about us. And I know that
Hmm.
I do. I'm hardly ever thinking about what I need. I'm thinking about what my children need, my husband needs,
Hmm.
my dogs need. Like you
Exactly.
said, it's
I
it's
have a oh, I'm sorry. I have a little reminder that pops up on my phone, every day. This is, "What do you need right now?" Because
oh,
otherwise I would forget.
I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great idea. I loved it. Love it. Well, you are the mother of five boys. That's God bless you. Five boys, and you are an entrepreneur, very
Mhm.
busy woman. How did you balance motherhood when your career first began?
Oh, there wasn't any balance at all. I literally worked around the clock. So when the kids would go to bed, I'd stay up late. When a baby in the middle of the night was nursing, I was on the computer. Nap time, I was on the computer. I worked a lot around my kids. My kids watched a lot of TV when they were younger. My rule of thumb was as long as it's beneficial TV and it's not terrible, I'm down with it. And I talk about in the book that one of my children was raised by TV, but he was still valedictorian, so it truly does not rot the brain. I didn't have any balance in the early years. There was a season of about 3 to 5 years where I was working almost all the time. Now, that means, like, between basketball games and the bleachers, I would pull out my computer and do work. I think the idea of balancing it when you're in a season of growth, especially as a business owner, just didn't happen. Um,
Mm.
and I don't know if people talk about, honestly, how hard it is in those first few years when you're building. Now things are great, but it was pretty intense though those years when my kids were little. But it's funny, my 16-year-old, he came in my office last year and he referred to me as a stay-home mom, and I was like, you're standing in my office, and I was just on a business trip. Like, am I a stay-home mom? And he goes, well, yeah, because you're always there for us. So I think
Mm,
we have a lot of guilt
wow.
that we aren't doing enough and our children are suffering. I think our kids are just fine if we are fine with it. But if I had lived my life always apologizing to them for work, or like when I went out of town, "I'm so sorry, mommy's going out of town. It's so terrible. I'm out of town. I hope you'll survive." I would have planted the seed that I was doing something wrong. This is just mom's working and, hey, we have a roof over our heads and we're going to school, and it became a natural thing. And I think if I can just tell my story and give women a little freedom and help get the guilt off their shoulders, because we may feel guilty for working, but the mortgage still has to be paid. You
Mm,
know what I mean? And not be apologetic about it, but just this is the way we do it in our family. I think our kids are benefit from it.
I agree with you. I love it. And we're not perfect, but that's where grace comes in, both
Mhm.
from our children and our husbands, and especially from God, right? We have to
Yes.
count on His grace to just kind of fill in those blanks. As you said, one of your children was, you said, raised by TV. I'm sure it's a little bit of an
Yeah.
exaggeration, and but his is still a valedictorian. He's done just well. So
Just
I love
fine.
this so much. Well, Allie, just as we get finished with our interview, I love talking to you, but I know you're super busy. I love it that you say that this book is not a how-to parenting book, so nobody don't expect to buy this remaining you while raising them as a how-to. It is a book for moms, centered and focused entirely on moms. Yay! I love it. So talk to a mom out there who feels like she's less than, to feels overwhelmed, who feels like she has lost herself in the process of raising her kids. Encourage that mom, and how can this book help them in some way with your insights?
Yeah, I would say that for every mom who feels like she's lost herself and isn't doing a good job, if you are listening to this right now, you're a great mom. You are invested. As one of my friends said, bad moms wouldn't listen to this. Bad moms would never read the book. This is what good moms do. You can let the guilt just slide off you that you aren't doing enough. You're probably doing 250% of what you need to do. The biggest, most important thing to do next is to start taking care of you, to start investing in you, because the investment in your happiness, the investment in your emotional health is something that will pay off in dividends for everybody in your life, especially your children. Being a great mom isn't doing this right and that right and doing all the things. Being a great mom sometimes looks like being a great person, being a healthy woman, and the natural overflow of that is a healthy or a happier family. So there's a million things I've gotten wrong in my parenting and my mothering, same with everybody. But research shows that we only have to get it right 50% of the time to be great moms. And I always say, with my 50% and God's 100%, our kids are going to be just fine. So move forward with strength, move forward taking care of yourself because the best is yet to come.
That's beautiful. I love that. Great advice and what a wonderful book. A great addition to my library. And I will be writing about this book for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and I will send you my the column, and I'll put the links, all the links to connect with Alli, and also on how to get this wonderful book right here on the show notes. Thank you, Alli, so much for this great time together. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun.
Thanks.